Rick Warren's story began far from the spotlight, in San Jose, California, on January 28, 1954. Raised in the small town of Ukiah, California, he was the son of Jimmy Warren, a humble Baptist minister and carpenter, and Dot Warren, a thoughtful librarian. His childhood was shaped by the values of faith, hard work, and service. Rick watched his father repair churches and offer his time to help struggling communities. This experience instilled in him a deep sense of purpose and a vision for a life dedicated to service. From a young age, Rick showed a natural inclination toward ministry. He wasn't the most popular in school, but he had a strong sense of direction, often spending hours reading theology and mentoring his peers. This foundation would later guide him on a journey that would change millions of lives. Finding his calling, a divine confirmation. Rick's calling to ministry became clearer during his college years. After graduating from Ukiah High School, Rick enrolled at California Baptist University, where he deepened his faith and vision for a church that would reach those who felt disconnected from traditional religion. A pivotal moment in his life came in 1973 when he traveled to San Francisco to hear the renowned Baptist pastor W.A. Criswell. After the sermon, Criswell placed his hands on Rick's head and prophesied, "You're going to make a difference for God." This moment solidified Rick's belief that his purpose was to build something new, a church for the broken and the lost. He pursued his studies further, earning a Master of Divinity from Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, but it was his vision that truly set him apart. The birth of Saddleback Church, a leap of faith. In 1980, Rick Warren and his wife Kay embarked on a journey that would change their lives and the lives of millions. With nothing but faith and a vision, they packed up their lives and moved to Orange County, California. They had no money, no building, and no congregation, just a burning conviction that God was calling them to start a church. Rick's approach was unconventional. He knocked on thousands of doors, asking people why they didn't go to church. The answers he received: "It's boring, it's not relevant, I don't feel welcome," became the blueprint for a new kind of church. That Easter Sunday, Rick and Kay held their first service at Laguna Hills High School with 205 people attending. This was the humble beginning of Saddleback Church, a movement born from faith and a willingness to embrace the lost. The early struggles, building from the ground up. In the early years, Saddleback Church faced many obstacles, including the lack of a permanent home. Rick and Kay, along with their small team, moved their services from rented spaces to school gyms and community centers, often packing and unpacking their equipment every Sunday. It was exhausting work, but Rick saw it as a test of faith. "We didn't have a building," he once said, "but we had a vision, and that was enough." Through sheer determination and an unwavering commitment to his calling, Rick began to see the church grow. As Saddleback expanded, it became clear that this was more than just a place of worship. It was a place of hope and renewal, drawing people from all walks of life. A new approach to church, the purpose-driven model. As Saddleback Church grew, Rick's message began to resonate on a larger scale. In 1995, he published The Purpose-Driven Church, a book that would change the way churches were built around the world. The book's central message was simple but revolutionary. Churches should be built around 5 biblical purposes: worship, fellowship, discipleship, ministry, and mission. By focusing on these core principles, churches could experience natural growth and greater community impact. The book quickly became a guide for pastors everywhere, and more than 200,000 church leaders worldwide were trained in the purpose-driven model. Rick's emphasis on practical, relationship-centered ministry laid the foundation for the next phase of his journey. The burden of leadership, struggles behind the scenes. As Saddleback Church grew to over 20,000 weekly attendees, Rick faced increasing pressures. The demands of leading one of America's largest congregations took a toll on his health. In private, prior to och with he battled exhaustion and burnout, struggling to balance the needs of the church with his own well-being. The man who had taught the world how to find purpose was now grappling with a personal crisis. Yet even as he faced these challenges, Rick remained committed to his mission. The burden of leadership was heavy, but he continued to push forward, knowing that his work was changing lives around the world. The tragic loss, the death of Matthew Warren. In 2013, Rick and Kay Warren faced the unimaginable. Their youngest son, Matthew, had battled mental illness for most of his life, suffering from deep depression and suicidal thoughts. Despite receiving treatment from top doctors and therapists, Matthew could not escape the darkness. On April 5th, 2013, in a moment of despair, Matthew took his own life at the age of 27. Rick and Kay's world was shattered. In an emotional email to their congregation, Rick shared the devastating news and expressed his grief. Matthew was an incredibly kind, gentle, and compassionate young man, Rick wrote. The tragedy not only shook their family, but also ignited a wave of insensitive comments, some even blaming the family's faith. Rick responded with grace, saying, "People ask why God didn't heal Matthew. I tell them he did, just not on this side of eternity." Turning grief into purpose, mental health advocacy. In the wake of Matthew's death, Rick and Kay turned their grief into a mission to help others. Rick returned to the pulpit after a 4-month hiatus, delivering a sermon series called How to Get Through What You're Going Through. It was raw, emotional, and filled with honesty. Rick shared his personal pain with his congregation, urging them to take their greatest sorrow and turn it into their life's greatest message. The Warrens began advocating for mental health awareness in the church, a topic often neglected in religious circles. They launched the Hope for Mental Health initiative, which aimed to make churches safe spaces for those suffering from depression and suicidal thoughts, physical struggles, and retirement. A new chapter. As Rick worked to help others, his own health began to deteriorate. In 2021, he revealed that he had been diagnosed with spinalis, a rare neurological disorder that caused painful muscle spasms. On top of that, doctors discovered an autoimmune disease that caused chronic inflammation. The once vibrant man who had built a global ministry now faced a constant battle with his own body. In June 2021, after 41 years of ministry, Rick announced his retirement as senior pastor of Saddleback Church. His decision stunned many, but Rick reassured his congregation, saying, "This is not the end of the story, it's the beginning of the beginning." He passed the leadership mantle to Andy and Stacy Wood, ensuring the continued growth and impact of Saddleback. Legacy and reflection, a life of purpose. Rick Warren's influence continues to shape the world long after his retirement. His books, particularly The Purpose-Driven Life, have impacted millions globally. Saddleback Church, once a humble gathering, now serves tens of thousands of people across continents. Rick's Peace Plan, the HIV/AIDS initiative, and the Hope for Mental Health ministry have transformed lives in ways statistics can't capture. Rick's life is a reminder that faith isn't the absence of suffering, but the strength to walk through it. From losing a son to battling illness, his story is one of perseverance, humility, and unwavering belief. His legacy reminds us all that pain can still have purpose,